Hello and welcome to Hiking Happens. I'm Kay.
And I'm Ro.
And today we're going to show you how to section hike the Appalachian Trail through our home state of New Jersey. So we've hiked many years around New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
And many times we find ourselves on the AT. Quite often we run into through hikers.
I didn't even know there was such a thing
No.
until we started hiking ourselves.
And I'm always fascinated by their stories. These people have quite a journey from Maine to Georgia or vice versa. But we're smart enough to realize that we can never achieve something like that.
I don't think so.
So what I do think we can do is hike the trail through New Jersey. And if we're successful at that, then maybe we can do it through New York and see where it takes us from there.
But it's going to take some planning and preparation.
So we have our motto, which is every successful hike
Begins with a good plan. And part of our plan is using these trail guides that magically just appeared on our table right here, amongst other things.
Yes. Well, we've relied on our experience on the AT
Yeah.
in New Jersey, and we filled in the gaps in the areas that we're not familiar with the official Appalachian Trail Guide. And I strongly suggest that you get yourself a copy of this, and I will include a link in the comments below on how you can get your own copy. It also comes with these very cool New York and New Jersey trail maps. Now, we're very confident that we can do this, and we think you can too. So we spent a couple of months in putting a nice detailed plan together, and we'd like to share that with you here today. So let's take a quick look at a summary of how the trail passes through the state of New Jersey. The first thing to know about hiking the Appalachian Trail through New Jersey is that there are 72.4 miles of trail in the state. The New Jersey section begins where the trail crosses the New York border near Greenwood Lake as it runs southbound, crossing the Delaware River into Pennsylvania at the Delaware Water Gap. It generally parallels the New York borderline in a northwesterly direction before turning sharply southwest, running along mountain ridges all the way to the gap. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy, or ATC, gives the New Jersey section a rating of easy to moderate, and they further break down the more than 72 miles of trail into 6 individual sections. The first of those sections begins at the New York border near Hewitt, New Jersey. The closest parking area to the start point is at the State Line Trailhead across from Greenwood Lake Marina, and it ends when the trail meets State Road 94 in Vernon Township, where there's an official AT trailhead lot. This is technically the smallest of the 6 sections in the state at 9.1 miles. However, you will need to hike an additional 1.4 miles of side trails to access the start point. The second section picks up as the trail crosses New Jersey 94, and it ends when the trail crosses State Road 284 in Wantage, New Jersey, and there's a small lot there. This stretch of trail totals 10.8 miles, and there are no additional trail miles needed at either end. Section 3 picks up from alongside the small lot on New Jersey 284 and ends when the trail crosses New Jersey 23 in High Point, New Jersey. There's an official AT lot a little way down the road. It's the second shortest section at 9.8 miles, and there's an additional half mile of trails at the end to reach that lot on New Jersey 23. The fourth section begins from New Jersey 23, ending where it meets U.S. Highway 206 in Culver's Gap, New Jersey, and there's parking for Culver's Gap nearby. This section clocks in at 14.4 miles, but you'll have almost a mile of additional walking to access parking at both ends, which makes this the section with the most overall walking. And then the fifth section begins as you cross US 206, ending at a small pull-off area along Millbrook Road in Hardwick Township. It's the longest section of trail in New Jersey at 14.5 miles, with a third of a mile of additional walking from the Culver's Gap lot at the beginning. The sixth and final section begins from that pull-off on Millbrook Road, ending at Delaware Avenue in the village of Delaware Water Gap, Pennsylvania, after crossing the Delaware River. There are 13.8 miles in this section, with an additional fourth of a mile at the end to reach the parking area for Mount Mincy. So 72 miles, thereabouts. And you should be able to do that as a 3 to 4 day backpacking trip. And we're going to show you where you can find shelters, campsites, and water. But now Ro has her own motto.
I was just gonna say, wait a minute.
Yes.
I don't know about these shelters personally. I want a nice bed and a shower.
Ro's motto is every successful hike ends with a hot shower and a cozy bed.
And a cozy bed.
Yes. So we're going to take this on as individual day hikes.
Good plan.
We'll do a separate day hike for each of the 6 sections.
I like it.
Now, of course, there's going to be some benefits and drawbacks to doing that way. So let's take a look at what they are. There's going to be plus or minuses no matter how you choose to hike the trail. Since we've chosen to section hike it though, I think a big advantage is we'll be able to plan around good weather so there's a much lower risk of getting caught on the trail in a storm. Doing just a day hike at a time should give us more time to enjoy the hike, taking in all the views and points of interest without having to worry about pounding out as many miles in a day as we possibly can. But most importantly, Ro gets a hot shower and a comfy bed to sleep in at the end of the day. Now fortunately for us, we live in New Jersey and the longest drive we face is a little under 2 hours, so we expect to be home and sleeping in our own bed. Now the downsides are nothing to poo-poo about. We're looking at quite a bit of driving back and forth from multiple trailheads. It's definitely going to hit us much harder in the wallet. Besides the extra fuel costs of all that driving, if you're traveling far from home, you may be looking at some overnight lodging costs, be that hotel, Airbnb, or something similar. If you live really far away, you could even be looking at air travel to get to New Jersey. And obviously, it's just going to take so much longer to complete the trail through New Jersey doing it this way. The fastest we could do it would be 6 days if we hiked the sections on consecutive days, but that's not even realistic for us or anyone else, I think. If we did 1 or 2 sections per month, then it's going to take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to complete. But now we still have to figure out the travel logistics involved. And we're hoping that quite a few of our hiking friends will join us. So if we have enough people, we could probably take 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
Where we meet at the end point and everybody piles into the second car and drives up to the start. We hike, we pick up the car that we left at the end point, and then we drive back to the start to pick up that car. There's a lot of driving back and forth involved with that method. But if it's just Ro and I, or maybe one other friend, another option could be we leave our car at the end and we call an Uber.
Okay.
And we get a lift to the beginning. And then we don't have to drive back to the beginning at the end. We can just go home. Now, there's also numerous shuttle services available all along the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. And I will include a link in the comments below to a site that lists all of those. And they range anywhere from organized companies to just a one-off person who's a like-minded hiker looking to help folks out and make a couple of bucks on the side.
Sounds like there's a lot of options.
There are, except in New Jersey. There's only one guy in New Jersey. And so I don't know if that's going to be an option for us. So we'll either be taking 2 cars or we'll do the Uber option.
Okay.
So now let's take a look at each of the 6 sections in detail. Here's section 1. You'll begin your AT trek through New Jersey at the border with New York, heading southbound 9.1 miles until you reach State Road 94 in Vernon Township, New Jersey. This is going to take you an estimated 5 hours to complete, and you'll find 1 shelter in this section. It's the only place where camping is allowed. The beginning of section 1 is the only point not accessible by car along the entire stretch of Appalachian Trail in the state. To get there, you first need to hike up the blue-blazed State Line Trail. Now, the closest parking lot to the start of this section is across from Greenwood Lake Marina, where you'll find the State Line Trailhead. The lot will hold about 10 or so vehicles, and be sure to stay on the left side of the lot because the right side is reserved for the marina. At the back of that lot, you'll catch the State Line Trailhead, which climbs steeply about 800 feet and just over a mile to the Barefoot Mountain Ridge, where it meets up with the Appalachian Trail. This is probably the steepest and longest climb you'll make during your AT adventure in New Jersey, and you're not even on the AT yet. But now hold on, you're not ready to start hiking New Jersey Section 1 just yet. The starting point is at the New York border, and it's another 0.2 of a mile north. So turn right here and head northbound on the AT until you reach the border marked in white paint on the trail. Now it's on. You turn around and start hiking southbound and begin your AT New Jersey Section 1 hike. Before descending the opposite side of Bearfort Ridge, keep an eye out for easterly views over Surprise Lake and you might even see Manhattan skyscrapers on the horizon. Now for the next 6 miles or so, you'll easily pass over rolling hills with elevation changes between 100 and 200 feet, and there'll be several small stream and roadway crossings as well. At about 4 miles in, you'll be passing through Wawayanda State Park. The park offers a quick detour on a Blue Blaze William Hofferland Trail, and it's a good spot to take a break to use the facilities. You can find water here too. There's also ample parking, so if you're looking to break up this section into multiple hikes, this is a really good option. Just past the park office, check out the Wawayanda Shelter. It's nestled back a few hundred feet into the woods on the right. Look for a Blue Blazed access trail. Spend the next couple of miles passing through wet areas, crossing streams and woods roads until you begin to approach Wawayanda Mountain after crossing Barrett Road. The ascent of this mountain will take you up about 400 feet in just under a mile. Once you crest the top of the mountain, keep an eye out for a Blue Blaze trail on the right that will take you to Pinwheels Vista. There's a large rock pile there to mark the trail intersection, and this is a must-do little detour. Now this blue trail is only about 1/10 of a mile, and it's well worth the side trip. I know you're going to be worn out at this point and eager to finish, but trust me, it's worth it. The view here is one of the best in New Jersey. You got the Vernon Valley spread out below you and the Pochuck and Kitty Mountains beyond, and if you look hard on the horizon and it's a clear day, you'll be able to see High Point Monument. And yes, that's your car down below at the New Jersey 94 parking lot calling out to you. So after taking in that gorgeous view, you head back to the AT and begin your descent down the other side of Wawayanda Mountain. This is steep, dropping about 900 feet in 1.5 miles. It's known as the Stairway to Heaven, and it's mostly stone steps and a bit of a knee buster going down, but you're oh so close to finishing now, so you're not going to mind. Once you reach the parking lot, pat yourself on the back and high fives all around. You just completed New Jersey Section 1 of the Appalachian Trail. Now only 5 more sections to go. So Section 1 looks like it might be a tough way to start. We've got a steep ascent in the beginning.
Yeah, a steep descent in the end.
Yes. And now let's take a look at Section 2. New Jersey Section 2 of the Appalachian Trail will take you 10.8 miles southbound from State Road 94 in Vernon Township, New Jersey to State Road 284 in Wantage, New Jersey, and it'll leave a pop over the New York border for a short time near the end. There's one shelter in this section, and it's the only place camping is allowed, and there's no viable water sources because a lot of the water in the area is polluted, so plan wisely and bring enough with you. Start your Section 2 hike from the official trailhead parking lot alongside New Jersey 94. There's a small lot there that can hold a handful of vehicles, but there's also a wide shoulder along the road for overflow parking. Now from this lot, look across 94 and you'll see southbound AT heading into an open field. Much of this section is mostly flat, passing through wetlands and a wildlife sanctuary, but also includes a steep ascent and descent of Pochuck Mountain in the middle. After passing through that field on the other side of 94, you'll cross train tracks and a couple of creeks. At about 1.5 miles in, you enter the Pochuck Swamp. This swampy area is nearly 1 mile wide and would not be possible to cross without the Pochuck Boardwalk. This is an amazing feat of engineering and one of the most complex construction projects on the AT. It is 3,950 feet long and took over 7 years to complete. And it looks really cool. This is a very popular attraction, so don't be surprised if it's super crowded. Now check this out, they even built a 146-foot long suspension bridge over the Pochuck Creek. It sits 14 feet high so it won't get damaged when logs come flying downstream during floods. The boardwalk section ends when you reach County Road 517. This is where a lot of people park along the road who just want to stroll across the boardwalk or even continue on to Pinwheels Vista. You'll cross 517 here and begin to approach the eastern face of Pochuck Mountain. There's an initial ascent of 365 feet and a little under a mile to the top of a rise before the main ascent up Pochuck Mountain, which sits at an elevation of 1,194 feet. The ascent up this mountain is steep at approximately 500 feet of elevation gain in about a mile, and look for some views over the western ridge. On the west side of the summit, there'll be a short Blue Blaze trail that leads to the Pochuck Mountain Shelter. After a quick visit to the shelter, there will be a steep descent down the backside of the mountain of almost 700 feet in a little over 1.5 miles. At the base of the mountain, you'll cross some swampy areas before reaching the Wallkill River National Wildlife Refuge. The AT joins up with the Liberty Loop Trail for another 1.5 miles through the refuge. This is basically just some flat walking along a dirt road, but take your time here and keep your eyes peeled. There's supposed to be a wide variety of birds living here. There's some paved road walking after leaving the refuge and a small hill to go over before reaching the end of this section. It officially ends when you cross State Road 284 to a small parking lot. Looks like it's only going to accommodate a few vehicles. It might actually swallow up a car or two in its potholes. Nice! 2 sections down. So I'm kind of looking forward to that boardwalk section.
Me too, the boardwalk and the wildlife sanctuary, and hopefully we'll see some birds along the way.
And here's the 3rd section. New Jersey Section 3 of the AT is 9.8 miles between State Road 284 in Wantage, New Jersey to State Road 23 in High Point, New Jersey, and takes an estimated 5 hours to complete. The only place you can camp in this section is at the Lone Shelter, where you'll also be able to find stream water available. You'll begin your Section 3 hike from the small lot along State Road 284. The trailhead is just to the left of the lot and heads into the woods. You'll soon follow an old rail grade, and the next 7 miles or so is a pretty easy walk, crossing open fields, streams, roadways, and a few small hills. Now the real excitement in this section starts after crossing County Road 519 and you begin to ascend Kittatinny Mountain, getting 500 feet in about 2 miles. Keep an eye out for the Blue Blaze side trail that will lead you to High Point Shelter. Now there are streams alongside this trail where you can pull water. Continuing past the shelter trail, a short detour on the red and green Monument Trail will ascend another 200 feet to High Point Monument. The monument sits at the highest point in New Jersey at 1,803 feet and is dedicated to all of New Jersey's war heroes. You can climb the 291 steps to the top of the 220-foot stone obelisk, but after hiking more than 8 miles to this point, is that really a good idea? It's still a pretty cool side excursion to stand at the base of this monument and take it all in. After visiting the monument, you might want to take advantage of the park restrooms nearby, where you'll also find a refreshing water fountain. Then make your way back to the AT and continue southbound for just a couple tenths of a mile to the High Point Observation Deck. Now at this point your legs will be thanking you for not climbing the monument as you take in some amazing views from here. The remaining mile of this trail section is a light descent to State Road 23, where you'll cross the roadway and celebrate another section down. This is the official end of the section, but unfortunately it's not where you left your car. Oh man! There's another half mile of walking to get to the AT parking lot that's just a ways down Route 23. Now it might be quicker to walk there along the roadway, but in the long run, you'll spend much more time recuperating after getting mowed down by an aggressive New Jersey driver. This is not a safe road to walk along, so continue southbound on the AT for 2/10 of a mile, turning left onto the red blazed Iris Trail, then 1/10 of a mile to a left onto the blue blazed Connector Trail, and a final 2/10 of a mile to reach that AT parking lot. So section 3 looks like it could be a little boring at the start, just a lot of flat walking until we get to the end where High Point is. Here's section 4. The 14.4 miles of Appalachian Trail in New Jersey Section 4 stretches southbound from State Road 23 in High Point, New Jersey to U.S. Route 206 in Culver's Gap, New Jersey. It takes an estimated 6.5 hours to complete. With almost an extra mile combined on both ends, you're looking at over 15 miles, making it the longest overall hike. It's a lot of rocky trail with enough elevation changes for me to think this will be the most difficult section. You'll pick up the trail from the side of State Road 23 just outside of High Point State Park. Use the official AT parking lot down the road and take the Connector and Iris trails over to the AT, but head north for just 2/10 of a mile to where you finished the previous section. Point yourself south and take those first steps along the Kittatinny Ridge. It's going to be with you for the remaining sections. Now there's no camping in this section except at the 3 shelters that you'll find along the way. About 1.4 miles in, you can catch views of the Pocono Mountains to the west, and at 2.6 miles you want to stop at Dutch Shoe Rock and take in northeasterly views. Around 3 miles in, you can check out the Blue Rutherford Shelter Trail on your left. This is almost a half-mile walk to the shelter, so yeah, I might skip this one on a day hike. But hey, looks like there is a water source there if you're in need, and if you're backpacking, super excellent spot to set up camp as it's near the lake. Continue along another few miles to the Mashipacon Shelter. Looks like it's right along the AT, but sorry, there's no water here. Now after a long day of some really strenuous hiking, the big payoff arrives when you summit Sunrise Mountain at 1,653 feet. Another epic Jersey view can be seen from the pavilion. Keep trudging along now until you see the brown blazed Stony Brook Trail on the right. It quickly leads to a blue-blazed access trail for the Gren Anderson shelter, where there is a spring for water access 200 feet to the left and a privy in the back. Another great camp spot for backpackers. Another mile or so along the AT and you'll find yourself at the Culver Fire Tower. Now, climbing towers scares the hell out of me, so you're on your own if you decide to do that. But just so you know, it's not allowed. After the fire tower, you'll be happy to know you're really close to finishing up now. You'll steeply descend 500 or so feet in about a mile before reaching Route 206. The section officially ends when you reach the shoulder of the roadway, but oops, you actually walked right past where you left your car at Culver's Gap parking lot, so turn around and head back north on the AT for a third of a mile and look for the access trail to the lot on your right. Now, there may be a portable toilet here, and that would be a welcome sight, or just head about 10 minutes south on Route 206 for some convenience stores. After surviving this section, completing the last two should be a breeze. Section 4 is the one that worries me.
Why is that?
Just because it's more mileage than we've ever done on a hike before, and it's all over the rocky Kinnatini Mountain Ridge.
It's going to be a long day, I think.
Yes. Here's Section 5. The 14.5 miles of Appalachian Trail in New Jersey Section 5 stretches southbound from US Route 206 to Millbrook Road in Hardwick Township, New Jersey, and will take an estimated 6 hours to complete. There's one shelter, and it's the only place you can camp while in Stoke State Forest. However, camping is allowed along much of the southern 10 miles of trail that is within the Delaware Water Gap Recreation Area under certain conditions too numerous to mention here, so get yourself a copy of the trail guide for more information on that. The entire section continues the AT's run along the Kinnatini Ridge, so expect more rocky trails with plentiful views. Technically, it's the longest section of trail in New Jersey, but with only an extra third of a mile from where you park at the start, it comes in second for overall most walking. If you're taking a second vehicle to the start point, you'll park at the lot for Culver's Gap, where you'll take a short connector trail to the AT. Turn left and head south on the AT for a third of a mile to reach the official start point for this section. When you reach US Route 206, you'll be at the spot where you ended the previous section. And this section begins when you cross Route 206 and turn left to walk along the southbound shoulder of the road for a short distance. Just past Rose Shop sign, you'll turn right onto the AT and head steeply uphill. At just past that first half mile, you'll have a chance to access the golden brown blazed Acropolis Trail that leads steeply up another half mile to a great viewpoint over Culver's Lake. It'll add another mile to your overall hike, so don't burn yourself out too quickly. If you just continue a little further down the AT, you'll have another great view of the lake from right along the trail. Then continue along the ridgeline for another couple of miles, and when you reach the dirt brink road, you can turn right here and follow a blue blaze trail for about 900 feet to the Brink Road shelter. There's a spring nearby where you can grab water, and it's just 300 feet northeast of the shelter on the opposite side of the road. Now, for the next couple of miles, you'll cross over Blue Mountain, followed by Bird Mountain, and then to the summit of Rattlesnake Mountain, where you can catch some pretty cool views of the Walpack Valley and the Pocono Plateau. After another couple of miles along the rocky ridge, you'll have the option to take the Blue Blaze Buttermilk Falls Trail to a scenic waterfall. But be warned, this trail heads steeply downhill and is over 1.5 miles long. The payoff is standing in a pool of water at the base of the tallest waterfall in New Jersey. And remember, what goes down must go up. You're looking at a steep 1.5 mile ascent to get back to the AT. So if you're too burnt out to add this side trip, fret not, you can drive right up to the falls on another day. Now from here, the remainder of the trail in this section is relatively flat. Soon you'll be passing by Crater Lake, where you can catch a pretty nice view. And there's plenty of parking at this lake, so it could be a good place to break this section into multiple hikes. There are decent bathrooms here, and at just 0.2 of a mile off the AT will provide you relief for the remainder of your hike. Blast out another 4 miles and watch for views over Sand Pond and the Boy Scout camp known as Nobi Bosco. Now, something really cool happened here way back in the fall of 1979, and if you stick with us, I'll let you know what that was when we hike this section. But if you think you know, go ahead and discuss it in the comments here. The end is near now, and when you cross Millbrook Road, turn left and walk the shoulder for 1/10 of a mile to the gate at the small pull-off area where you left your car. Only a couple of vehicles will fit here, so if you couldn't find room earlier in the day, then you most likely parked in a larger lot back where the AT meets Millbrook Road. Wow, these past 2 sections have been some brutal ridgeline walking, but the good news is there's only one left to go. So do you know what happened at the Boy Scout camp?
I do know what happened at the Boy Scout camp.
Stay tuned for that. Let's take a look at the last section.
Engage.
All right, let's finish this thing up. You are 13.8 miles away from completing the New Jersey section of Appalachian Trail. Section 6 will stretch southbound from Millbrook Road to the end of Delaware Avenue in the village of Delaware Water Gap, Pennsylvania, and takes an estimated 6 hours to complete. There are no shelters in this section, but there is a backpacker campsite about 2/3 of the way through and a few places where you can find water. You can also camp along the trail, but check the trail guide for restrictions on that. For bringing a car to the start point, hopefully you can get a spot in a small pull-off along Millbrook Road where the section begins. Otherwise, you can park at a larger AT trailhead lot 1/10 of a mile west on the opposite side of the road. Now, except for the last couple of miles, the trail continues along the rocky Kittatinny Mountain ridgeline with more awesome views and some cool sights to see. The AT proceeds southbound behind the gate following a gravel file road for 4/10 of a mile before turning away from the road to the left. Just 50 feet past that point along the gravel road, you can find water at Rattlesnake Spring. The trail will climb more than 250 feet in about a mile and hook up with the gravel road a couple more times before reaching Catfish Tower, the highest point in this section at 1,565 feet. Now, if you chickened out on climbing the tower a couple sections back, here's your last chance to do so before finishing up hiking through New Jersey. But hey, disclaimer, I'm not suggesting you do that. It's still not allowed here either. Catch a sweet view over the Great Valley just a mile or so after leaving the tower. And then the next couple of miles is pretty level before steeply dropping 400 feet to Camp Mohican Road. The trail crosses the road, but if you have the time, turn right and take the road for a short distance to the Mohican Outdoor Center. There's a huge campsite here and cabins for rent. Free day parking is allowed, and you can pick up supplies at the visitor center too. It's run by the Appalachian Mountain Club, so needless to say, they are AT hiker friendly. After crossing the camp road, you'll gain those 400 feet right back up to the ridgeline, so keep trudging along a few miles until you reach a large rock pile known as Raccoon Ridge. You'll want to spend a little time here because it's the sweet spot of this section. With 360-degree views, it's one of the top vistas along the trail in New Jersey. Great spot for a snack, too. After taking in that amazing view, pound out another couple of miles and look for the turquoise trail on the left. You want to take this quick detour because it leads to the north shore of Sunfish Pond with a fantastic view down the length of the pond. It's such a cool spot, you want to hang here a bit and enjoy your lunch. And trust me, you may not want to leave, but sooner or later you need to get back to the AT. After lunch at the pond, you can enjoy a bit of rock hopping as the trail heads south. Keep your eyes peeled for a little beach of rock men about halfway down the shoreline. You want to stop here and explore because it's just so cool. Now, I really hope it's still there. We checked it out several years ago, but the last time I passed by, I missed it somehow. I will definitely be on the lookout when we hike this section and report back. The trail map shows a water source near the southwest end of the pond, and I'll see if I can find it when we're out there. But soon you'll be passing by the backpacker campsite, which has a decent enclosed privy you might want to stop at. And if you're on an extended AT adventure, this could be a good place to set up camp for the night. Now, the next 3 miles is a long downhill slog until you reach a Dunfield Creek parking lot alongside Route 80. There's a water source with a hand pump just as you're approaching the lot. Now, if you're not dead yet and still feeling adventurous, look for the Red Dot Trail to Mount Tammany near the roadway. I've done this trail many times and often see it listed as the #1 hike in New Jersey. It's 1,200 feet of elevation gain and about 1.5 miles to the summit of Mount Tammany. It's steep, it's rocky, and has a little bit of scrambling, but oh man, the view from the top is the best. You're at the Delaware Water Gap now, where the Delaware River passes between Mount Tammany in New Jersey and Mount Mincy on the PA side. The whole way down to this point, there hasn't been any views of this so-called gap. The top of Mount Tammany is the only place you're going to get that view, and Mount Mincy will be in your face just across the river. So cool, but it could be tough fitting it in after a long day on the trail. But now it's time to focus on finishing this AT thing. The remaining 1.5 miles is a welcome roadway walk. You'll turn left out of the lot, then make a right to pass through a tunnel under Route 80. On the other side, you'll turn right and follow the road that parallels Route 80, passing the Park Visitor Center where you can use the facilities. Continuing along the road now, the trail merges onto a pedestrian walkway that will take you west across the south side of the Route 80 bridge over the Delaware River and into Pennsylvania. Once you're firmly on solid ground again, look for the walkway to veer left where it terminates at the end of Delaware Avenue. And so, just like that, after 72.4 miles of Appalachian Trail and a few more miles thrown in for good measure, you've completed the entire New Jersey section. Way to go! But before you crack open that celebratory brewski you left chilling in the car, you just have to make your way down Delaware Avenue, turn left onto Mountain Road, then left onto Lake Road, to the parking area for Mount Mincy where that brewski is calling your name. So which state is next on your list? So section 6 is the one that we're most familiar with.
Yes.
We spent quite a bit of time there, and I'm looking forward to visiting Sunfish Pond again.
It's one of our first hikes.
Yes, it's also the first time we met a thru hiker who incidentally saved me from an equipment failure that I had when we were novice hikers and we were not prepared. So the lesson that we learned from that is be prepared and always have a good plan.
Yes.
You can find all of my reference links in the comments below, including a link to a site for additional parking. There's quite a bit of parking all along the trail through New Jersey. So if you want to break the sections up even further, you can find additional parking areas there. Now we're going to be starting section 1 in a couple of weeks, and we'll post an updated video directly from the trail. We'll do that for each of the sections as we hike them. So please like and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we upload each section video. Any parting words?
I'm really looking forward to this, and we've done a lot of preparation. It's taken some time. So again, looking forward to this, and hopefully our preparation has helped you to look forward to your AT hike across New Jersey.
We'll see you on the trail.